My name is Aarti and a warm welcome to yet another book reading session of the book club. Well, today I just decided to pick up a book that I randomly lay my eyes on. There was no structure, no agenda, nothing that I thought beforehand. And surprisingly, the book that I picked up was One Person's Journey by Nicola Hanfeld. That's what the book looks like. Interestingly, I have not read this book as yet, and I was recommended this as a very good read. So I'm glad that I picked this up because it's going to be the first time that I read it along with you. Before we can actually start reading anything in the book, I would like to read what some people have to say about this. So right behind on the book cover, Lynn McQuinney, who is a BFRP and an international batch trainer with the Bach Centre. She is my teacher when I was training for my teacher's level. So she writes, Nicola provides an invaluable opportunity through her personal stories for us to get closer to the Bach flower remedies, and in knowing them more, we can learn more about ourselves. In addition, Nicola is also a gifted botanist and a photographer with a keen eye for detail. In this book, she has collected botanical notes about Dr. Bach's plants, complemented with her fabulous photos. And which is true, I was taking a look at some of the photographs and they're so beautiful. If I get a chance, I will certainly show it to you. And then next, the very foreword is written by Stefan Ball from the Bach Centre, and he says, we often advise people who are studying the Bach flower remedies to keep a track of their emotions. Keep a journal, we say, and note down how you feel about the situations you encounter. Journaling helps us learn the remedies because we see how they relate to our lives. It also helps us learn about ourselves and our feelings. The best journals are about humanity and about growth. In contrast, an occupational hazard threatens people who write more formally about the remedies. It occurs when we focus so hard on the system, on remedy indications and dosage and so on, that we forget to put any people in it. This is especially strange because the whole focus of Dr. Edward Bach's work was people, their personalities, their feelings, their emotions. Humanity is central to the remedies. That in a nutshell is why this book is special. More than a book about remedies, this is a book about people. Using her own life and experiences as a framework, Nicola Hanfeld introduces us to those fundamental feelings and personalities that are the basics of Dr. Bach's system. She tells us about her life, her weaknesses, her qualities, her relationships. The stories are human and always engaging. Some will move you, some, I'm thinking about the tale of how Nicola came to own a Serato plant, are gentle and funny. The decorating story made this reader laugh out loud. This book teaches the remedies because it's all about life. That's putting things in the right order. Stefan Ball, Bach Centre. Well, that itself makes me quite interested in the book, isn't it? I'm going to read a short passage from the introduction which Nicola writes herself. And like I always say, I think the credit has to be given to the author because there's a lot of hard work and a lot of, I think, giving that an author really puts in any book because it is a piece of you, it is a piece of your heart. So Nicola says, the writing in this book is based on 26 years of experience with the Bach flower remedies and 25 years teaching the Alexander technique. I use these two safe, holistic and efficient methods within a professional setting for people seeking support and impulses for personal change and development. The connecting link between the Bach flower remedies and the Alexander technique is that both approaches enable personal growth, and in this field, this is a field that has fascinated me since my early 20s. This book concentrates on my experiences with the Bach flower remedies. Maybe people already using the remedies will discover some new facets to Dr. Bach's system through reading my stories and finding them entertaining too. For those new to the system, I hope my tales are a striking way of learning about the flower remedies. As a beginner, it is not always easy to get to grips with descriptions of the 38 remedies, but stories often stick in people's minds better than the descriptions. And I so agree. As a teacher, I realize that whenever I'm teaching people, teaching my students about the remedies, I end up talking a lot about the description because somewhere inside I myself am not satisfied, and then I end up giving examples, and that is when I see the expressions change. When people learn about your experiences, when people learn from examples, the stories, the characters, the emotions in that story kind of stay back with them, and that is what gives them clarity about the remedies. So I hope when I'm reading some stories from this book, there's more clarity to what you already know, or if you've never known about the Bach remedies, then you kind of get interested and want to know more. This book reading session is kind of interesting for me as well, because like I said, I have never read this book before. So while I see all these very beautifully structured contents in front of me, I don't really know which chapter talks about which remedy and why is it named a certain way. But I'm going to follow my intuition, and I'm just going to pick up a chapter that I get attracted to. And like I said, I'm going to follow my intuition. There is a chapter number 7, that says that quiet inner voice. So I'm listening to my inner voice, and I'm going to go and read that. I kind of have a hunch about what remedy could that be, but let's see what do we get by the end of this one. That quiet inner voice. Summer 2004. Although I had been using the remedies for about 18 years, there were still a few remedy plants that I had never encountered growing freely. Serato, and I was right. Serato was one of them, and this strange story began with a difficult personal situation I experienced in July 2004 when I needed a lawyer. The person I found was competent and well recognized in town as a successful professional, but a hardliner, and was fighting, as I had indeed asked her to do, for my rights. I felt myself to be in good hands and trusted her judgment and approach to the situation, which appeared to me as the correct strategy. In the middle of the night, while neither really asleep nor poorly awake, I got up and walked trance-like to my remedy box. Without looking, I took 2 drops on my tongue of the first remedy that I had touched in the darkness. Back in bed, I immediately fell into deep sleep. I awoke refreshed, something I had not experienced for several weeks. My first activity upon waking was to phone my lawyer and ask her to change her policy to a milder one, which meant losing my cause and stopping fighting. I did this without making a conscious decision to act. Afterwards, I reflected and then remembered that I had taken a remedy in the night. I walked to my box and was surprised to see that it had been Serato, a remedy I had seldom taken up to then. There it was, standing alone outside the box. However, I was first feeling clear and peaceful. I interpreted the decision to change course as coming from a deeper part of myself that Serato had brought to the fore. I slept better as a result in the following weeks and was surprised and impressed about this. That summer, the 7th International Alexander Technique Congress was held in Oxford, and I went to England for it. Prior to this, I visited the village where I grew up for a couple of days. I am somewhat short-sighted, but do not always wear glasses. While I was out for a walk one afternoon, I saw, or rather felt, a blur of spectacular deep blueness a few feet to my left in front of me. Enchanted, I approached the plant on the edge of the road and recognized it as being Serato. I enthusiastically greeted the plant. I often talk to plants. I do that as well. And drew in the impressions of its delicate petals, the deep saturated blueness, and touched the surprising rough leaves and wooden stems. 2 days later, now in Oxford, I encountered Serato again. I saw a whole border covered with vibrant and beautiful masses of it, seeming almost to glow from within. A lush carpet of dark, softly shining leaves surrounded the beautiful cobalt blue flowers. I could hardly believe that I had never met this plant before. On the same evening, I met the plant yet again in the garden of the house where I was spending the night in Oxford. I spotted a low growing small Cerato plant and commented on it to my hostess. As she, as she had only planted it on the previous day, she could not understand that I had noticed it. The brilliant blue flowers in the late summer light had caught my attention. I explained why the plant was special to me and told her that elegant Cerato is endemic to Tibet. A couple of days later, being not so far from Sotwell, I took a trip to the Bach Centre and Cerato was there yet again, this time hardly surprising at Dr. Bach's home. In September, back in Germany, I knew now that I had to have my own personal Cerato plant, but where to find one? Journeying around garden centres did not appeal to me, least of all without knowing beforehand if they even had it in stock. I need not have worried. As I went shopping at my local supermarket for the first time following my return, my eyes fell on a small, solitary and decidedly feeble-looking Cerato plant on the floor upon entering the supermarket. It was labelled an autumn special offer. I stood there a little bemused. Then smiling, I bought it and left quickly. Back home, I had a good chat with the plant and gave it the rescue remedy. Within 3 days, I was rewarded by dozens of the electric blue flowers, vivid against leaves now tinged red. Autumn was approaching. Since then, I have kept Cerato on my balcony and make it a habit to take this remedy now and again to support listening to that quiet inner voice within, always remembering the strange series of events that led me to getting acquainted with the plant. Now, before I talk about recognizing the Cerato state, she has so beautifully written about what Cerato looks like that I'm going to show this picture to you. Those are the Cerato flowers, and yes, of course, they're very beautiful, gorgeous. I have seen them personally when I went to the Bach Centre. Recognizing the Cerato state. The indecisiveness of a Cerato state is related to a person not trusting their own judgment and relying upon advice from others. They will refer to these people when talking and mulling over their problems. One might hear, "My partner said," "My best friend recommended," "My therapist thought I should," "My doctor urges that I..." It is important to not become another advisor on the list. Their indecisiveness is coupled with a search for what they think they should do via incorporating other people's opinions. Supporting someone to discover their own answer to a question and not influence the person can require some holding back. We do so love to give advice, don't we? Many years ago, I was acquainted with someone with a Cerato scleranthus personality. Now, to quickly tell you a little about scleranthus, as opposed to Cerato, where, in a Cerato state, people are trying to get opinion from others, they seek for validation and approval from others. A scleranthus state is where you're kind of confused about making a choice between two or more options. So many years ago, she says, I was acquainted with someone with a Cerato scleranthus personality. She would repeatedly place problems at my feet, and it was as if I should decide what she should do. As I did not involve myself in solving her problems, it remained a superficial encounter. Well, interesting, isn't it? I think we also many a times come across such situations where we find ourselves in a Cerato state and thinking about, why did I have to pull this out? Maybe I need to listen to my inner voice. Yeah, there are a lot of thoughts inside. There are a lot of things that my head is saying I should do. And perhaps I am looking for that validation outside. Perhaps I am looking for someone else to tell me that go ahead, it will work. Go ahead. It should be positive. Go ahead and just do it. And I think in such times it is good to take Cerato because, like she has rightly labeled it, Cerato kind of helps you listen to your inner voice. And just yesterday, I happened to take my level 1 class, and we did cover the remedies in uncertainty, and Serato was one of them. And like I explained my students, that Serato is when you need to listen to that inner voice, that you need to have faith in your intuition, in that gut voice. We keep saying that my gut says don't, or my gut says do it, and many a times we kind of overlook it, we do not listen to it, and we go ahead following somebody else's opinion or advice, or then just go ahead doing what we're supposed to do, what we should do, rather than what our inner voice is saying. And many a times we land up taking wrong decisions. Many a times, or rather, haven't you encountered yourself saying that, my gut said I shouldn't have done that, and I still went ahead? Or my gut said that I should have done this, and I did not. And that's when I failed. So listen to your gut. Listen to that inner voice. And have faith in what that voice inside you is saying, because that always guides you to do what is right and what is best for you.